Welcome, friends. If you followed us on Hollywood Progressive, you know that most of our reviews focus on racial issues, frankly. Freight, Lines in the Dust, and Blood at the Root are three recent excellent examples. But this past weekend, we enjoyed a change of pace by taking in Arrowhead, which plays at the Atwater Village Theatre Fridays through Mondays until March 4th. This fascinating romantic comedy focuses instead on sexual identity issues. We learn that Jen is unexpectedly pregnant. She's also a lesbian. As anyone would do under these circumstances, she throws a secret abortion party at a lake house with a bunch of straight friends from college. Steamy complications ensue. How'd that strike you, hon?
Well, to be completely honest, that sentence that you've just read there, or that little paragraph about she's pregnant, she's a lesbian, she has throws a secret abortion party. That actually, when I read that, I thought, oh, okay, well, we'll go see that. That really didn't interest me. But when we sat down and we were waiting for the play to start, the first thing that I really loved was the way that the set design was. I love the innovative ones and, the very creative ones that do different and interesting things with very little. But this set design actually looked like a cabin in Lake Arrowhead. The living room and the bathroom, and even though you couldn't see the kitchen or the bedrooms, the way they had it staged, it was very easy to imagine where they were in the front porch, and it looked cozy. And so that was the first thing that impressed me. And the next thing is when the actors entered the stage and they began to interact with each other, it just felt so natural. It felt like I was like a fly on the wall. Like I was at someone's cabin and I was just kind of watching the natural interplay that happens with people. The way that the paragraph is written, it makes it seem weird, the secret abortion party. I wouldn't really call it a secret abortion party. It was, a woman who was with her best friends and she had taken a pill, maybe mifepristone, which, by the way, might not always be available until we'll find out what the Supreme Court says. But I just really enjoyed it. I didn't think it was weird. It set up to sound weird, but it just felt very natural. Girlfriends getting together and supporting each other in a time of need. And one of those girlfriends happened to be a lesbian. But that's how that goes. So that's how I felt about it. Nia.
I really enjoyed this play. Like Sharon was just mentioning, both the paragraph that my father just read and even the paragraph, the little blurb that they put or that we receive in these press packets talking about the plays coming up in the season. I think I was the one who screened this particular listing of shows at this theater. And I specifically remember saying, we have to see this one because it sounds like it's going to piss us off. The way it was written sounded so inflammatory and problematic. That I was like, the only reason I want to see this is because I'm pretty sure we're going to have a lot to say to rip it apart and not a nice way. And then we saw it. I am with Sharon. As soon as we sat down and looked at the set, it immediately, before the lights even came on, it felt cozy. It felt like a really comfortable space. It felt like a cabin. So we immediately got the layout. And from the first moment until the end, natural is going to be a buzzword, I think, in this video. It was such a natural meeting of people. From the back end sort of a script, we clearly have different archetypes in each of these characters. And normally they're very self-isolated and you can feel the archetypes character arc or story arc throughout the show, and they're sort of self-contained. But this was just such a beautiful interplay of the archetypes, but in a very natural setting. I loved how many different, I think social justice issues, social justice topics. I think that's the right terminology. Social justice topics that this play actually hit. It talks about the struggles of being lesbian. It also talks about the struggles of being Black lesbian or Black in the queer community in general. It also hits on patriarchy a lot. It also hits on the interplay between lesbians in a patriarchy world and patriarchal society. We have a couple of male straight characters in this play. One, a very typical man sort of character. But what I really enjoyed was seeing this other male character whose name I can't remember the character's name off the top of my
Which
head.
one? The brother or
not the brother's
Brody.
friend.
The character's name is Brody.
Brody. I loved his energy. He was a bro kind of dude, but we eventually find out his past and having to sort of parent his siblings and how that changed him from a young man and how he is more mature than he lets on. And that comes out throughout the play. He's a very almost like a motherly figure to these other characters. And it's just an interesting change up to when you usually see men in a play. I have to say the acting here was phenomenal. I don't even have the words, honestly. There were highs and lows and crying and a lot of laughing. Even the really hard moments were palatable, which is important. As my dad and Sharon can tell you, they are also writing their own plays, which we have to bug them about so they can move that process along. But it's a challenge to create meaningful characters that provide information to the play without just sort of providing information, without just exhibitionist sort of lines, just to state information because it needs to be stated. And this play did this so wonderfully. We got all of the information naturally.
Yes.
Just again, natural, and naturally is going to be a buzzword in this video. It was just such a natural unfolding of layers. There was a big twist in it that I was not expecting. I don't know if you guys expected it, but I was taken along for a journey from the moment we sat down all the way through to the end. I was very pleased with this play. The little blurb at the beginning of this play and the little blurb that describes the play, I think on their website, does not do it justice at all whatsoever. This is a wonderful, wonderful look into the lives of people, of just people living their lives. Oh, and I also did want to add that one of the social, I don't know if this is social justice, but it is a wonderful look at the movement and fluidity between sexuality and how everything is sort of on a spectrum, and it's about living in the moment and things like that. So just really like this play. This was a surprise play for sure.
Yeah, I think I thought going in that this would become a kind of a polemical issue. It would be about women's rights and lesbianism and the legalities and so forth. But these characters and the playwright humanized that. So you really understood, you really got a sense. I believe one of the lesbians had been ostracized by her family, which is a topic that you know about, you hear about it. Gay people are thrown out of their families, thrown out of their communities, nailed up to fences and killed in Wyoming. But you really kind of understood how that impacted them, and the impact of it. Abortion is an issue that could be handled polemically, but this was handled emotionally, and you understood the pain that the young woman was going through, and also the sexual dynamics of sexual attraction doesn't always color right within the lines.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could see the internal conflict. Like Nia said, the word natural, I don't think it could be overused in this situation, because what you had here was a person who was a lesbian who was pregnant and who was attracted to a man and still in love with her partner, who is a woman. And that's normal stuff. And these people, well, I think there were 7 actors in this play. They all are about the same age.
Yeah, they were college friends.
Right. They're people that are in their late 20s, early 30s. And these are the struggles that I think the average people, if you're not on, if you're being honest with yourself, average people struggle with. You, whether you are straight or heterosexual or anywhere on the continuum, because the continuum contains a whole lot of variation. We all struggle with, who we love, who we're gonna love, how long we're gonna be with them, all that stuff. And I think that this play really worked that stuff all in very well.
And
Absolutely.
also has the characters' sexual attractions, but then their concern or worry about how others would perceive how they chose to be at any given moment, and that rang very real. Another thing Nia talked about the stagecraft. So we've had kind of extremes. We've had some plays that were placed in a particular room, down through the years. They're in a bus stop or in a living room or in a bedroom, and it stays in that one theater. And then we've gone to these avant-garde ones, I would call, where it's just screens and bits of furniture that the actors move around, and suddenly you're in a coffee shop. Oops, no, you're in an office. Oops, no, you're at a bus stop, which is very cool. And this was kind of right in between. It was one stage, and they didn't move stuff around, but up in one corner was the bathroom, and over here was the lawn outside in Lake Arrowhead, and over there was a different room, and with the lighting and the characters moving around, it made for an engrossing afternoon of theater.
Yeah.
And Nia was
Absolutely.
wise enough to direct us to a lovely Cuban restaurant, Atwater Village.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes.
And we had a lovely dinner afterwards, as we often do. Last thoughts
I
from
did
you?
want to add, yes, I did want to add one more thing. We keep talking about a very lesbian woman who is pregnant because she slept with and is attracted to, seemingly, to a heterosexual man. And I just want to point out that it's not portrayed as some swoony, like, oh my gosh, sort of damsel in distress kind of a moment between these two. It's a very raw, I identified very much with a lot in this play, but the way that the feminine female attraction towards the male and the masculine was portrayed and described and talked about hit it right on the head. It wasn't some like, oh, he looked at me and I fell to my knees sort of thing. It was a very raw, very powerful sort of connection that they had that yeah, it sat so well. Again, just very natural, just like, yeah, like if you came across a person that gave you the feelings that this woman felt for this man, and you were otherwise lesbian, I think it would make a lot of people also have the same question and the same sort of go down the same road or a similar road. So it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like writing for the male gaze. That's what I'm trying to say. It didn't feel like a male gaze sort of writing. It was a very female sort of gaze moment. And I can't say enough to the playwright. Can't give her enough props or give them enough props.
Yeah, I would say, at times over the years, I attended a Black play that was clearly directed at a Black audience. And I recall going to a gay play or an LGBT play that was clearly in the house, all inside jokes. And that wasn't true here. This was available to straight people and gay people, and that was kind of, and as Nia said earlier, they also touched on other social justice issues. It's well worth the drive up to Atwater Village.
Yeah, well, it's basically a play about relationships. You know, there's also the relationship with one of the characters whose name is Stacy, and she's a mom, and she's not she's has recently given birth. She's got babies, so she's got to pump, and and I mean I could so relate to that.
Yeah.
And it was difficult for her to be away from her babies, but she had to spend this weekend in Arrowhead with her best girl, you know, best pals. And it's just regular relationship stuff. So,
Well, good family. I think we have another play Sunday, so we'll see people next week as well.
that's right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for sticking around. If you like the LA Progressive content and the discussions we have here, please consider clicking the subscribe button below and also give us a thumbs up. That helps to grow our audience by feeding the algorithm, which helps to get this content in front of more eyes. Thanks for stopping by. We really appreciate your support.